Alright, welcome back to the JFK Assassination Audit number 31. It is 23 December, and let's see, so you got about 2 more days till Christmas there. So we're going to get back into it, keep going down this timeline, and it just makes things so much more clear when we go down this timeline here. So, the next thing would be 8 a.m. to 12:30 p.m. 6 employees are working on the 6th floor of the Texas School Book Depository repairing the flooring all morning. So that would be, all the temp employees there. And so what they were doing, from what I understand, is in between when, there's a slow season, which is about this time of year. And so when there's a slow season, they fill all the orders for the day, and then when they have no other work to do, then they would tear up the floor and replace it. Okay? So what that consists of is moving boxes around. So you'd have stacks of boxes you'd be moving around, and then you would tear up the floor where there weren't boxes, and then you would replace it, with wood, more better wood and stuff like that. It's my understanding this building, by this time it's been there 50 years or so. I think it was built back in the 1910 or the 20s or something like that. I'm not exactly sure. But, so that makes sense. You would use your labor pool when they weren't, doing the primary mission, was just to fill orders for the books. They would be replacing the flooring. And so this brings up some problems. Okay? So, if Oswald comes in at 8 o'clock, he's seen by Frazier carrying the package in. He's seen by this guy, what's his name? Daughtry. And Daughtry didn't see the package. And there are other employees that all know to go to the 6th floor and work there to tear up the floor. That presents a real big problem for Oswald. Okay? Because how is he going to be assembling the rifle? Okay, the rifle's been, according to the FBI and the Warren Commission, has been disassembled. So he's got to put that rifle back together. He's got to screw those screws back in. He's got to set that scope back on there. He's got to adjust the scope, set the, put that pin in there with the clip in there with the rounds. He's got to do all this, and of course not leave any fingerprints, while people are, over just three boxes high, are over there tearing up the flooring. Okay? Now, he could wait until lunchtime at 12:30, but by then, JFK was actually scheduled to be at the Dallas Trademark to give his speech at 12:30. So JFK was actually scheduled to pass through about 12:15, and everyone was out there waiting. All the people that this Daughtry guy said that he saw on the 6th floor at 12:30 were all out front waiting, and they were waiting quite a while. It was during their lunchtime. They were waiting quite a while. So it just defies logic, doesn't make any sense that Oswald would be up there with that rifle at 8 o'clock trying to assemble it, sight it in, or whatever, or trying to assemble it, sight it in at 12 whenever he went to lunch, because he could get caught. Remember, there's chicken bones, there's a Pepsi, Dr. Pepper bottle over there. Someone was eating over there, okay, for lunch. The shooting happened at 12:30. Most people went to lunch from 12 to 12:45. I think maybe even 11:45 to 12:30. So there was a good chance that someone could be up on that 6th floor, and see Oswald assembling and sighting that rifle. Now, there are people, we're going to read statements of people that saw people in that window before, like right after 12, all the way down to 12:30. So it doesn't really make a lot of sense. If Oswald had taken the rifle, maybe hid it in a closet on another floor, and then he's assembled it in the closet of the bathroom, he's still got to carry that rifle, okay, past people, up the stairs, to that 6th floor. So what I'm trying to say is that the 6th floor is not really a great place if you're going to assassinate the president, why would you choose the 6th floor? Okay, why not the 7th floor when there's nobody up there? Okay, maybe the 5th floor, but he doesn't know that those 3 guys are going to be there. Okay, so if you're planning on using the sniper's nest on the 6th floor, you're taking a great risk. What if somebody comes back from lunch early? What if somebody forgot their clipboard, forgot something, and went back to get it before they went to lunch? Okay, what if someone is just trying to, they're behind, so they're trying to go get some more books and get their product, okay, before they go to lunch? All these scenarios could happen. Yet Oswald, we're supposed to believe that Oswald's going to take that risk, knowing that all those people could be back on that floor at any minute between, and when he's shooting, say Oswald is up there, even though he's spotted in the 2nd floor lunchroom. Say Oswald is up there at 12 o'clock, he's putting his rifle together. He's risking being discovered every minute, okay? He's hoping Kennedy's going to be there at 12:15. He doesn't know if he can get that rifle together and sight it in time, okay? Well, let's say we'll give him the benefit of the doubt. He knows for a fact, somehow, that Kennedy won't be passing by until 12:15. He's got 15 minutes to put the rifle together. That's a pretty quick clip to try to do that and sight it, okay? All the time risking that someone may show up any minute and see that window open and hear him over there, okay? So that's a pretty risky prospect. Anyway, that's my summation of what's going on there. Now, around the same, it doesn't really say the time, but that morning, before 12:30, Julianne Mercer sees a man in a pickup truck. She later identifies as Jack Ruby with the rifle near the ground. Well, actually, no. She sees Ruby sitting in the truck and then someone else carrying the rifle up the grassy knoll, which doesn't make a lot of sense. So what she's saying, basically, and we're going to get into her statement here, is, okay, so here's the grassy knoll. Now you can see how there's 1, 2, 3 lanes. Okay, what she's saying is that someone was about approximately here with the truck with the right 2 wheels on the sidewalk and the left 2 wheels in the road, and was blocking this street. She was in this lane, so she had to slow down, try to merge over to get past him. This is why, while she's sitting there waiting, she noticed the man in the car as she went by, and she also noticed the man come around and get the rifle out of the back of the truck and go up the grassy knoll. This is what her statement is. And then she noticed it said something like Acme Plumbing on the side of the truck. Now you see this in the recreation in the JFK movie, and she says this is Oswald, or excuse me, this is Ruby, and the implication is the other guy is Oswald. She doesn't say it's Oswald or identify it as Oswald. She just only is able to identify Ruby. And this is before Ruby shot Oswald on Sunday, 2 days later. So let's read her statement and see what she says, okay? All right. So this is her statement she made to the Sheriff's Department that day on the 22nd, Ms. Julianne Mercer, okay? She says, on November 22nd, 1963, I was driving a rented white Valiant automobile west on Elm Street and was proceeding to the overpass in a westerly direction at the point about 45 or 50 feet east of the overhead signs on the right entrance to the road to the overpass. There was a truck parked 2 wheels up on the curb. The hood of the truck was open. On the driver's side of the truck, there were printed letters in black oval shape which said air conditioning. This was a pickup truck, and along the back side of the truck there appeared to be toolboxes. The truck was green Ford with a Texas license. I remember seeing the word Ford at the back of the truck. Remember those trucks that used to have the imprinted word into the back tailgate, and then it was usually painted over in white. And then it says, a man was sitting at the wheel of the car and slouched over the wheel. This man had a green jacket, was a white male, and about his 40s, and was heavy set. I did not see him too clearly. Another man was at the back of the truck and reached over the tailgate and took out from the truck what appeared to be a gun case. This case was about 8 inches wide at its width and tapered down to a width of about 4 to 5 inches. So everybody see these gun cases where, you know, they're kind of like a long triangle where they're bigger on one end where the butt of the rifle is, and then smaller on the end where the rifle barrel is. It was brown in color. It had a handle and was about 3.5 to 4 feet long. Now that would be the dimensions of our rifle. Remember the rifle that we measured? Let me see if I've still got that here. Hold on one second. Yeah, remember our rifle, total of the rifle was 37.1 inches long. I tell you, people are really good at these measurements because I could say, oh, it's about yay long, but I would never be able to say, oh yeah, it was exactly 3 feet or 30 inches or 36 inches or whatever. But yeah, so she's saying it's 4 feet to 5 feet long. Okay. Let's see. No, she's saying it's 3.5 to 4 feet long. So 3.5 would be, let's see, 36, and 6 would be 42 inches. Yeah. So that would be the dimensions of that rifle if it was a Manlichter Carcano. But it could be any rifle. It could be an extra rifle. The actual rifle that was actually fired. It said the man, let's see, took this out of the truck, then proceeded to walk away from the truck, and as he did, the small end of the case caught in the grass or sidewalk as he reached down to free it. He then proceeded to walk across the grass and up the grassy hill which forms part of the overpass. This is the last I saw of this man. So it sounds like it's not exactly on a exact position, but if this is the grassy part that goes to the overpass, and this is all wooden fence here, it sounds like he's going up the embankment here. Now there's stairs here, so maybe the truck would have been about approximately here. I'm just taking a guess because there's no way to get past this fence. There's the corner of the fence right here. There's some stairs, and then if he's not taking the stairs, he's going up the grass embankment. So approximately right in here is where she saw the truck. I'm just making an assessment of what she's saying here. It says, let's see, it had been delayed. I had been delayed because the truck, which I described above, was blocking my passage, and I had to wait until the lane to my left cleared so I could go by the truck. And that makes perfect sense. So she's right behind that truck. She's able to see those white Ford letters, you know, sticking out in the tailgate, and she got a good view of the man. The thing I want to know is, did she give a description of the man who picked up the rifle? Because she saw that action with the rifle, but I don't see a description of that man. Anyway, we'll see what it says here. Hold on one second. Alright, so during that time I was sitting at the point and observed about the incident where 3 policemen standing talking near a motorcycle on the bridge just west of me. The man took what appeared to be the gun case out of the truck, was a white male, here we go, who appeared to be in his late 20s or early 30s. That could be Oswald, it could be anyone. And was, let's see what else she has here. And was wearing a gray jacket. Now Oswald was wearing a gray jacket, brown pants, and a plaid shirt. Now, I believe Oswald was wearing like beige pants, and it wasn't really a plaid shirt. It was kind of a brown shirt that was kind of a pattern, like little squares on it. As best as I can remember, I remember he had some kind of hat that looked like a wool stocking hat with the tassel in the middle of it. I believe I can identify the man if I see him again. Now, is she talking about Oswald having a hat, or is she talking about the man driving having a hat? I'm not sure. I'm assuming she's talking about the man holding the gun, because, yeah, that's interesting. The man who remained in the truck had light brown hair, and I believe I could identify him also if I were to see him again. And it's signed Julie Ann Mercer. Now, let me see. Okay, so that's that one, and there's another statement here. Let's see what this one says. Nope, that's it. So that is her statement to the sheriff. Like I said, you know, people would go up and tell the police officer, or the sheriff, hey, I saw this, I saw that. They would give a statement with this lady, you know, Rattan, whatever, and then the FBI would come down and interview them if the Warren Commission was interested in them, and then the Warren Commission would bring them in for testimony or come down and question them. Let's see. We got another statement here. I wonder if it's the same one. The only thing that bothers me is there's no time. She doesn't say the time. Okay, this is the same statement. She just says the date. And that's the only thing that bothers me, is there's no time when she saw this. And it's my understanding she spoke to the Warren Commission, or at least the FBI, but there's no statement on that I'm seeing. Hold on one second. Yeah, see, the only thing I'm finding is this affidavit. Now, you remember in the movie JFK that, you know, this lady, she's been introduced or interviewed by Garrison, and she says that there was, you know, on this statement that there's a notary public, Rosemary Allen. And like I said, you know, these notaries are given their commission by putting up a bond and agreeing that whatever they hear and write down is true to the fact that what was said. Okay? But Julie Ann Mercer, I don't know if this is fact, said in the movie, you hear in the movie saying, hey, you know, it says here that I didn't identify Ruby, and I did identify Ruby, and then it also says that there was a notary public that signed, and there was no notary public, you know, in that room there. So I'm not sure what the circumstances are on that, because you're not going to sign this, you know, unless this lady has signed first and then you sign. Or no, they sign and then the notary signs, saying that they saw you sign. But, you know, in the movie they make it like there was no notary, and something about the statement had been changed. But I don't see anything in here saying that she identified Ruby 2 days before. Remember that Garrison saying, wait a minute, you identified Ruby 2 days before the assassination? Yes, I did. I picked him out. So there's a problem there. That's not in her statement. But that could have been an encounter. And see, here I found this. This is an encounter she's had with the FBI later on. So this is from the 22 November 1963. They got some really good stuff here. So we're going to read through this, and there might be another statement here. So this is Julie Ann Mercer. Actually, no, I got to stop because I've reached my 19 minutes. We'll pick this up next time, and then we're going to jump over to new evidence and new documents. Alright, so when I dropped off on this one, we were talking about Mr. Cadigan and then the fake, you know, paper bag that the FBI had made, and I made the point, you know, with Better Call Saul that, you know, using fake evidence would be thrown out in court, things like that. Anyway, so we'll keep going here. Let's see. Yeah, and they're checking it for UV. Make sure it's the same paper. 364 is the replica sack obtained on December 1, 10 days later. That is on the left, yes. and the other is this sack. No, the other on the right is a sample of paper obtained on November 22nd. November 22nd, just after the assassination. Yes, there's a clear distinction here. The sample to the right, that is, I understand, is paper obtained on the evening of the 22nd, has a more deep violet shade. On the other hand, the tape is much lighter, and the tape on the sample obtained 10 days later. That is to say that so now they've got three. They got 3 bags, or 3 samples of paper. Or they got the original, they've got paper taken that day and tape taken that day, and then they've got a fake replica taken from other paper and tape constructed 10 days later. Good Lord. Anyway, that is to say that the sample 16 days later is darker as to the tape, but lighter as to the paper. Would you like the opportunity, Mr. Murray? Mr. Murray, no thank you. Yeah, he's not going to... Mr. Murray is another counsel. He's not going to touch that one with a 10-foot fucking pole. Mr. Eisenberg, we're putting in the sack and 364, the 10-day later sample. Sack and 10-day later sample, which is on which side? See, Mr. Dulles has to jump in and say, what the hell's going on? The sack is on the left. The replica bag obtained on December 1 is on the right. Yes, I find that the sample obtained 10 days later in the sack, which is on the left, that the sample obtained 10 days later shows a lighter shade of purple than the sack, and that the tape shows a darker shade of, I would call it almost gray, as against almost white from the tape, which is on the sack. This is all bullshit, and they all know that if they've been doing this in a court of law and they had a good defense attorney, if Oswald was able to defend himself according to the Constitution, stand up, and oppose your witness, oppose your accusers, they would have this fucking sack thrown the hell out of the court, even with the rifle and the sack thrown out. And now the FBI is making fake sample sacks and showing witnesses and asking them questions about it. First thing the defense is going to say, Your Honor, this is not even the original sack that they're saying that they found. And they're showing a fake sack to the witness, asking them if this looks like the sack. Of course, any good judge is going to have that thrown out. Or, in appeal, they're going to throw that sample sack out there. Anyway, I'm not even a lawyer, but I know that pretty damn well. I have no further questions, Mr. Dulles. So not only is it different paper, but the tape samples exhibit visible differences as well. This is confirmed by Cadigan's own testimony, Mr. Eisenberg. Now, getting back to the paper bag 142, this is the original. The tape they're on, just for a second, and the tape found obtained from the Texas School Book Depository on November 22nd, Exhibit 677. So there's a third exhibit with the widths of the tapes the same. Similar, they were not exactly the same, no. So if you made a fake bag, you can make a fake bag, fit around the gun broken down that you're saying was a murder rifle. Anyway. Can you explain that? Yes. The width of the tape of the paper sack, Exhibit 142, I measured at 3 inches, and the width of the manila tape of Exhibit 677. Okay, so now 142 is the fake sample bag they're showing the witnesses, and 677 is the original paper and tape they found on the 22nd, if you got that. I measured at 2.975. There is a 25 1/1000th of an inch difference. Wow. You got that, jury? So, at this point, the defense, if Oswald had a real trial, would just be going into epileptic seizures of objections. Okay? And, asking the judge to throw this shit out. Because this is confusing the jury. This is samples, and this is evidence that has nothing to do with any reality. Okay? Because they're saying, 5 follow my thinking here. They're saying that Exhibit 142 is the original bag, okay, and that it had Oswald, has Oswald's palm print on it somewhere, and it was messed up and darkened by the oil. And so they didn't want to confuse witnesses, so they made a fake one on the 1st of December, which is Exhibit, 364, okay? Try to follow me. And then they're showing this fake bag that they say they found, the Dallas Police Department found, which they don't have a picture of it up in that corner, saying that they found, and that was the bag that Oswald brought the gun in, broken down. Okay. But the color of that bag was different, and the tape was different than the original tape and color bags found on the 22nd. So, I mean, like I said, any good defense lawyer, if Oswald had his day in court, would just be epileptic seizures of objections. And, throw this fucking fake bag out, throw this sample bag out. This is not the evidence that you're trying to convict my client on. Bring out and show the witnesses the bag that you found, supposedly. Not some fake-ass bag that you made, a week later, 10 days later, and not some samples of product, okay, that you gathered the day of the assassination. This is like total bullshit, It's just unbelievable. And like I said, no real court case would they be allowed to present this evidence and present it to witnesses and present it to the jury. It would all be thrown out. Well, because it's controlled by the Warren Commission. They've got no opposition, nobody to object. They can just do whatever they want and roll all over it. Okay? Alright, so this just keeps going on with the same crap. Alright. All of the rolls of paper in the Texas School Book Depository Shipping Department were manufactured by St. Regis Paper Mill and were part of the same shipment. Mr. Eisenberg, have you any information as to whether the paper during the period of November 22nd and December 1st used in the Texas School Book Depository was in the same or different rolls? Would have come from the same ultimate manufacturer? Mr. Cadigan, it is my understanding that we received shipment of 58 rolls of paper were shipped on 19 March 1963 from St. Regis Paper Mills in Jacksonville, Florida, and which lasted them until January 1964. This would mean on average in a 9-month period a little more than 6 rolls a month. Now, my question is, and this is really obvious and they don't bring this out, is where is the Warren Commission's expert from, or witness from St. Regis Paper Mill saying that the bag that was supposedly found in the corner of the sixth floor of the school book depository that they don't have a picture of, okay, in that position, where is that witness from St. Regis Paper Mill saying, yes, that is our paper from our mill? Because this paper could be from anywhere, okay? Anywhere. Oswald could have, seen the paper at the school book depository and said, hey, you can't go in that room because that guy's going to see him there, but hey, that would be perfect to carry the rifle or the curtain rods. So he sends Ruth Payne or his wife, or he goes out and picks up paper at some other store. Where's the investigation on that? It doesn't exist. So there's nothing proving that this paper came from that room of the school book depository. Anyway. And on the other hand, anybody could have manufactured, and they didn't get into that anyone anyone out of the bunch of employees that were there, or just anybody off the street, could manufacture a bag 37 inches long that looks like those ones in the school book depository, leave it in there for them to find and not take a picture of. Anyone could have done that. See, that's the problem I have with this whole thing with the trial, is that it's just saying, yeah, this is what happened, this is what it is, just believe us, we found this. I know we don't have any evidence showing it, that that's the same paper. We don't have any evidence showing that that bag was found in the corner there, but just trust us, we're the government, we wouldn't lie to you, this is what we're saying, and it's got to be true because we're the government. Okay? And, you know, this may work in other countries, you know, dictatorial countries where you don't really have a defense like China or Russia, but this is the United States, for God's sake, okay? Where the state, you're innocent until the state proves you're guilty. It's not, we're the state, this is what we say happened, so believe us. Because Oswald did it. I mean, who else could have done it? We're not going to present anyone else because it had to be Oswald, right? What a bunch of crap. But again, they don't go over these things. They don't go over, they don't bring a St. Regis paper mill expert saying, yeah, that bag right there that you have with the oil on it that was found supposedly in the, you know, the corner of the 6th floor, that's our paper. They don't have that guy. Why? Because they don't need to. They don't want to. Okay? If they had a trial, they might do it, but then the defense witness is going to tear them to pieces. How do you know that's your paper? Okay, is there some kind of pattern or mark or stitching that you put on that paper that you know it's yours? How do we even know that that comes from your paper? Okay? And what lot is it from? And when was it manufactured? And what plant was it done? And who's the guy on the line that manufactures that can bring him in and, you know, put that paper in front of him and say, hey, is that your paper? And the reason they don't do that is because the sample they have has been destroyed by the oil. And so that whoever at St. Regis wouldn't be able to identify that as their paper. Okay? Now, maybe they can do some kind of testing nowadays, maybe some kind of FBI, maybe the defense witness would, you know, get a little torn out sample, cut from the, and then, you know, take that and then take it to a paper expert that they would hire, the defense team would hire, and take samples of paper from different lots inside the Texas School Book Depository and from Regis and be able to determine if that's a close enough match. But he also would take samples of paper from other companies from around the country. Okay? So they just kind of assume that, oh yeah, this is their paper, and, you know, it's got to be theirs, because who else would it be? You know? Somebody could have bought that paper in Miami as they were driving to Dallas, manufactured a bag in a hotel room in Houston the night before the assassination, gone up there and planted it, for as far as we know. Okay? But that's not for the defense to prove. They don't have to prove anything. All they have to do is throwing enough doubt, you know, and tear up the state's case for the jury. That's all their job is. And the state can't prove that that bag came from St. Regis paper and then came from the Texas School Book Depository. They can't even prove the bag was in the 6th floor. They only have a fucking picture of it. Anyway, notice there's no mention of any scientific testing to see if both papers were manufactured, just like I said, by St. Regis. Cadigan assumes that the very thing he is trying to prove, that both samples came from the Texas School Book Depository Shipping Department and therefore had to be manufactured by St. Regis. Just exactly what I just said. At the very least, you would expect the world-class FBI crime lab to test samples from the Depository Shipping Department to see if the differences they observed could be detected in the remaining rolls. And like I said, from St. Regis samples, different samples there, and from different paper companies. I mean, how many paper companies would there have been in the United States in 1963. Probably hundreds. Probably hundreds. Okay? Anyway. But again, this all just gets lost, you know, in the massive avalanche of testimony, because there's no one to challenge it. There's no one, okay, defending Oswald to stand up and say, hey, Your Honor, wait a minute. We had fake samples, we had, you know, fake paper. We don't even know if that's the original paper bag that was found in the corner, because there's no damn pictures of it. There's no chain of custody of it. And we don't even know that that bag that was found in the corner was manufactured by St. Regis. I mean, how many times do I have to say that? I'm just trying to emphasize the point that a total lacking of a fair trial and a fair defense for Oswald is the reason why he was killed. Because if he had gone to trial, he never would have been convicted. All these things, the paper bag that nailed him, you know, they don't find his fingerprints on the paper bag, even though he handily carried it in. They can't find his fucking fingerprints on there. The rifle, they say that he carried in that bag, no fingerprints on the whole damn rifle. The paraffin test, saying that he would have fired a rifle, test negative. That means he didn't fire a rifle. So again, all these three things, and then just keep adding on and adding on and adding on. You're just adding doubt, you know, and then this is what I'm saying right now is exactly what an attorney would be saying in his summation at the end. He would be emphasizing these key points. Don't forget, there's no prints on the bag of Oswald. Don't forget, there's no prints of Oswald, fingerprints on the weapon whatsoever. There's no paraffin test on Oswald's cheek testing positive. That means he didn't fire a rifle. So if Oswald brought this rifle in the bag, he was carrying gloves and wearing a face shield when he fired that rifle. And where are the gloves? Okay? And where's the face shield? Okay? And why didn't he take the bag? If he hid the rifle, why didn't he take the shells? And why didn't he take the bag? I mean, these are just obvious things. I'm not even an attorney, and I would just tear these people to pieces. Okay? Just obvious shit. Anyway, we'll keep moving on here. So, that's enough for right now, and we'll get back into Cadogan and keep going. Alright, so we're going to get back into this article by Mark Lane. I don't have a date on it. The mysterious death of the key JFK witness. Alright, so the reason I like reading these articles, besides just the testimony from the Warren Commission, is because they give you different information and different perspectives that I can't think of everything, okay? So this stuff is really good. It clicks on my synapses, making me think of other information to research, to find that I wouldn't even have thought of. And like I said, you have to cover everything, or most of everything, in order to understand something. You have to look at things and read about things and study things from different angles, not just from your own position, but from different angles. And that's why when you hear me talking, it may sound like I'm all over the conspiracy, page there. I'm over here, I'm pointing that way, I'm pointing this way, and it's not that. It's just depending on the document that I'm reading, and depending on the different views I'm looking at, I could be looking at something with about 4 or 5 different points of view. Okay? And I'll go over that real quick. So, I'm going to go over this again later, but this is the views that I have, okay? That A, Oswald, and we'll start off on the right end here, okay? That Oswald was a hardcore right-wing conservative, anti-communist, Cold Warrior. Okay? And that all this, stuff about the communism and everything, Marxism going to Soviet Union. It was all a fake defection, and was building his legend so he could infiltrate and penetrate the Russian and the liberal community in the United States and expose secret communists and Marxists and report back to the FBI, and that he was working for the government, either Office of Naval Intelligence or the FBI. Okay? And that's one, hardcore. The other one is that he's right-wing, but he's under duress. That means that he's leaning right-wing, so why else would he join the Marines? If you're a communist, why would you join the U.S. Marines? Anyway, and that under duress, he was facing court-martial, and they gave him an out. Look, you can serve your country and get rid of this duress, either manufactured or just circumstantial, that Oswald fell into by going and serving your country by defecting to the Soviet Union and then coming back and playing this role again as a communist agent. And as you work off people, we'll pay you, we'll take care of you, and you'll get some money, you'll get some benefits, and work off these things. The second one is Oswald on the left was a hardcore communist Marxist, hated America, hated Kennedy, hated everybody, and wanted to kill everybody, because Kennedy was trying with Operation Mongoose to kill Castro, so he was going to kill Kennedy first, okay? And that he was spouting communism and all this kind of crap, and he went to the Soviet Union and found out that they weren't as hardcore Marxist communists as he thought. It was all a farce. So then he came back. The only problem with that is everywhere he goes, he's hanging out with these right-wing guys. Wouldn't he be exposing them? Okay? Wouldn't he be fighting with them? Wouldn't he be, oh, you're a goddamn, fucking Nazi. Fuck you. Communism's the way, da-da-da-da-da. And then trying to, wouldn't he be shooting those white Russians? He tried to kill Walker. Why wouldn't he be shooting de Mohrenschildt? Why would he be friends with de Mohrenschildt? Why wouldn't he be shooting at those white Russians and shooting at H.L. Hunt and shooting at H.L. Byrd and shooting at Brown and Root? And why would he even be hanging out in Dallas? Okay? Think about it. Maybe he's, so hardcore that he goes straight for the enemy's lair and lives among them and tries, but he, if he's that kind of person, then, he's a gnat fighting a bunch of tigers. He's not going to win. Or a mouse, you know what I'm saying? And then there is the Marxist communist guy under duress. So he was kind of a Ginsburg, Marxist communist leaning kind of guy. Read about it. Oh, it was, because it was, anti-establishment. It makes him cool and suave. Hey, I read, Engels and I read Marx and I'm a communist, yeah, and I've studied Russian and I went to Russia and I lived in Russia. Da 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 da. And it comes back. And then, hey, why can't we just all get along? And this is why he hangs out with de Mohrenschildt. But he's also under duress that, the FBI is on his ass. And that puts pressure on him to take out his revenge for them harassing him by going after Walker and then going after Kennedy, which doesn't make any sense. And then also, there's the other one on that, where he's a left wing, under duress, and, maybe he's a traitor. Maybe he's changed his ways, and now he's kind of moderate, and he's still pretending to be a communist, and trying to infiltrate these groups, but he never infiltrates any groups in Dallas, and then he only comes out in New Orleans after he's lost his job with the Riley Coffee Company. Anyway, so there's all these different Oswalds, okay, that we see and we hear about. We hear about the Oswald in Russia that's jovial and happy and has a lot of friends and has a lot of girlfriends and, you know, is a party guy, okay. We hear about the insecure, you know, dyslexic child Oswald that, you know, was a loner and no one liked, and he was, you know, wasn't very smart, but he read a hell of a lot of books, you know. And then there's the, you know, joking, goofball, slacker Oswald from the Marines that we hear about, that, you know, could never have his gear shit ready. You know, none of his stuff. He'd always get gigged for always having all, you know, he never had his uniform ironed or properly, or his gun, you know, properly cleaned. He was a loser, a slacker. Okay? And then, like I said, there's the Oswald in the Soviet Union. That's the jovial playboy, hanging out with the girls. But, you know, the Soviet intelligence doesn't think he's smart enough or sane enough to be turned as an agent, or intelligent enough. You know, they say he can't even operate, you know, anything. So he wouldn't be smart enough. And then there's the Oswald that we see in Dallas, who's like this stern, you know, doesn't talk to anyone, beats his wife, argues communism with Ramornschild, but at parties is singing and entertaining this Japanese girl and making his wife jealous. And then there's the street fighter Marxist Oswald that we see in New Orleans, okay, who's, you know, he's working with this very conservative Riley Coffee company as an oiler, but doesn't seem to show up half the time, supposedly, and spends most of his time reading these gun magazines at this garage next door. But then, after he's fired, then he's out on the street, you know, trying to infiltrate right-wing Cuban groups, anti-Castro groups, and then fighting with them, and then, you know, paying guys with money that he doesn't have because he's already been fired to pass out flyers with an address that goes back to a right-wing instigator who would use young men like Oswald to infiltrate leftist groups on campus in the South and contain files on these people that they found, former FBI guy. And then there's the crazy, you know, Oswald that can't speak Russian very well, or can't, you know, speaks broken Russian, broken English, or excuse me, Spanish, at the Russian and the Cuban embassy, desperate to get into Cuba. Okay. And then there's the stern Oswald back in Dallas, doesn't talk to anyone, but it sure does like kids and likes talking about the weather, but never advocates communism, never advocates all the things that he'd been advocating and writing about before. So which Oswald are we looking at here? I think we're looking at the same Oswald. I don't believe in the dual Oswald tracks going back to when they were born. I don't believe in that. I believe we're looking at an Oswald that's an actor. He's playing a role. Okay? If you see Tom Cruise, okay, in Top Gun, and then you see him in Mission Impossible, and then you see him in Jack Reacher, those are different characters, different roles that actor is playing. Same actor, same face, same personality, same voice. Just the lines and the attitude and the persona is different because he's playing a role. Okay? So, this is what I'm thinking Oswald is. At this moment in time on 23 December, this is what I'm thinking. I don't think Oswald was one person. I don't think he was this hardcore communist. I don't think he was this hardcore right-wing guy. I think he was a mixture in between. And that he was working maybe with the FBI, maybe with intelligence services somehow. and he was trying to find himself. So he played these different roles depending on who he was around. Okay? I very highly doubt, like Garrison said, he was an agent of the FBI or an informant of the FBI. I think it was more under the duress, because you look at the statements he made about the FBI when he was arrested. You know, stay away from my wife. You've been harassing my wife. That doesn't sound like someone who's working with the FBI or working for the FBI. So there's something going on there, but I don't think he was the assassin. I think one of these right-wing groups figured out this is our sucker here. And you look at all the people that we'll go across those, and all the pre-assassinations, like this guy in Chicago. He's a former Marine, mental health problems, a nut, okay? And they were going to pin it on him if they did it in Chicago. But they decided not to do it in Chicago, and they were going to do it in Miami. They didn't do it in Miami. They had different guys for different areas they were going to pin it on. But Dallas turned out to be the best one, okay? So I think Oswald really didn't know what was going on. I think he had an idea. There was a group out there. But I think maybe Oswald thought this group was trying to kill Castro. And maybe he was trying to infiltrate that group or find out more about them because he got curious. But then there's that, you know, that background behind Oswald, all these right-wing groups that are handling him along. He couldn't have been completely stupid and not known about these guys. Okay? Anyway, alright, we'll keep going on. We'll read more of this. But again, it's not ironclad in stone and writing. It's this or it's that. It's more confusing that I'm finding. Eventually, maybe if after I read all the millions of documents, I'll come to a conclusion. But right now, it could be this, it could be that, depending on the document I read, and whose testimony I read. Anyway, it says several months before the assassination of Mohrenschildt moved to Haiti, he organized the Haiti Holding Company, a shell organization in Haiti which at the time served as a CIA farm or holding facility used to detail or hold former agents who were in possession of potential explosive information and to reward them with lucrative contracts. De Mohrenschildt entered into a contract with the Haitian government to make a geological survey of Haiti. The government of Haiti agreed to pay him $285,000 for the survey and give him a concession, sizable hemp in Haiti for 10 years with the option to extend it for 10 more years. In May 1963, de Mohrenschildt went to Haiti, stopped off in Washington, D.C. to secure official approval of the last-minute instructions from the U.S. government. So, this also brings up another point, okay? And it's privatization and exterior funding for the CIA. Now, I don't believe that all the CIA was involved in the assassination. I believe a small group of hardcore right-wing anti-communists who were confederates of a small group of hardcore anti-communist cold warriors in the FBI and the Secret Service and the Dallas Police Department, and then the Mafia and the anti-Castro groups and racist groups in the South were all involved. Portions of them were all involved in the assassination. But my point is that what we see is what, even before Kennedy's assassination, even before what I was calling the organization, and even after, there's been this wish for the CIA to have exterior funding, subcontractors of subcontractors off the books. They're not writing documents about, you know, de Mohrenschildt's operations or people working for de Mohrenschildt or other operations. Okay, they have people like de Mohrenschildt all over the world, in Africa and Asia and everywhere. Okay, and so what I'm talking about is the CIA getting funding from other groups or fake shell companies to fund operations off the books, and this would protect them, okay, from being discovered by Soviet agents infiltrating the financial section of the CIA or the congressional oversight committees. That would shield them from that. And I guess you call these dark missions, dark monies, whatever. And we see this, you know, starting off around this time and continuing after that. Like, you know, the Iran-Contra, that was all outside, off-the-shelf, you know, money. They were trying to sell weapons to the Iranians, use that money and that influence to free the hostages, and then use the profits from that to fund the Contras. Okay? And the same thing could be said about the drug trade. Now, again, not all the CIA was involved in illegal drug imports from Thailand and from the, you know, the Golden Triangle and from, you know, Afghanistan and from South America into the U.S. But, you know, there were definitely other people involved in that wished to hide their, you know, their participation in that to continue funding. Okay? And so this is what's going on. This is where we see the beginning of it here. We got Demorshield. He's working obviously for the CIA, but he's also getting a contract, private contract with the Haitian government. They're funding that, and then he's using that farm and that property, you know, because Haiti, you know, it's just right, a hop, skip, and a jump right across the water to Cuba. So you could fund an operation in Haiti using as a base to train anti-Castro Cubans, and then use them to infiltrate out at night, attacking Cuba, and come back and have a safe haven. Very simple to do. Anyway, we'll keep going here. Actually, my time's up on that, but I will finish up on this last paragraph here. It says, Demorshield lived in Port-au-Prince, the capital, and received his mail at the American embassy there. At the time of the assassination, he was attending a party when radio broadcasts the news. According to the present with him at the party, Demorshield paled and then blurted out, could it have been Oswald? Was he involved? As he became the center of the attention at the party, he continued to speak. The FBI in Dallas and the FBI in Fort Worth told me he was harmless. Anyway, alright, so we'll keep going here. And that just reminded me, that brought up something else. If you think about it, if someone is harmless, you know, the FBI is saying, yeah, Oswald's harmless. That means he's a useful pigeon. He's a useful patsy. Okay? And again, what did Oswald say? I'm the patsy. So to me, what that says is that Oswald knew the people involved in the assassination, or knew of the plan. Okay? And then somehow it got turned where it frames Oswald. But again, you're dealing with people that are way smarter than Oswald, even though Oswald's, you know, not really stupid. But everybody knows there are certain people that are way more intelligent and way ahead of the curve and can see things that most people can't see. And, you know, like they used to say about Trump, I never believed this, but they say, remember they used to say this thing where Trump was playing, you know, 5D, 6D, 7D, 10D chess, way ahead of everyone else. And it was all a bunch of bullshit. But there are people like that, though. I've seen people like that. And then there are simple people who can only see to the end of their nose. Okay? And they're good people. There's nothing wrong with being like that. Matter of fact, it'd be nice if a lot more people were like that. But Oswald wasn't exactly that, but he wasn't exactly a genius either. He was somewhere near the lower end. But he was smart enough to realize that something was going on, and that once it happened, he was framed. Anyway, he became the patsy. So let's see what else Mr. Demorshield has to say.
And we tended to agree with him. Was lack of good care of his child. This led to frequent scenes and recriminations. Gradually the fight became frequent, never in public however, but Marina would arrive complaining, "He beat me up again." She especially
How
complained
would
to
she
Jean.
arrive, in a car or?
She would arrive by bus.
Uh-huh.
She showed my wife the bruises on her body, and she displayed a black eye to me. One day we visited them in their apartment on Elsbeth Street in Oak Cliff. It was on the ground floor in an old red brick dreary building. The living room was small. There was a little bedroom and a kitchen. Lee showed me the books he had been reading, some letters from Russia to both of them. The walls of this gloomy room were decorated by the enlargements of the pictures he took in Russia. He took a great pride in these pictures. There were trees and streams, pleasant peasant huts, views of Moscow and Leningrad, and especially of the river Neva in Leningrad. These pictures he took himself, and now he enlarged them at Taggart's, where he was working.
He did that himself?
Yes.
So, I'm going to recount something here, and this is kind of along the same lines here, okay? So, I've lived in other countries, and I've come across people, and, you know, there's a natural way of meeting people and associating with people and becoming friends with them. And then there's kind of a weird, unnatural way that people just all of a sudden show up in your life, and then you find out they're everywhere. Oh, you're over here. Oh, hi. What's up? And they just keep showing up where normally you go, when before they weren't showing up before. And then it's like they want to be your best friend for no reason, even though you have nothing in common with them. Okay? And then they take a keen interest in listening to you and maybe suggesting things. And I'm not saying to be paranoid, but I've always been kind of, paranoid of people like that, because there's no logical reason. Like, I had this friend that was pretty wealthy, and he just all of a sudden started hanging out with me, and I couldn't figure out why this person was interested in me. I've had girlfriends like that. Why is this person beautiful, could have anyone, why was she interested in me? There's always an interior motive, whether good or bad, okay? So you always have to be careful of that. And maybe Oswald wasn't smart enough, or maybe he was trying to figure out where Des Moines Shield was going with this, or maybe his circumstances, he needed someone else to talk to, But I've always been cautious of people like that, because there's always, like, this person that I knew in this foreign country basically was not drilling me, but was inquiring of me to see if, and this other person in the other country didn't have a lot of money, was trying to make me a mark that maybe I had money, maybe I didn't have money. They never could figure out if I was rich or not rich, because I lived a pretty simple life. So that they actually came to the conclusion that I had a lot of money, and I was just playing poor. And, one thing led to another, and I stopped coming around this person, because I couldn't really believe anything they said. But I started going back and listening to the comments, and then it just struck me that I'm a mark. This person's scouting me out, And, a lot of actors and famous people come across people like that they don't know if someone's being their friend because they really like them and are interested in them and have common interests, or they're just interested in them to be, hey, I'm hanging out with this famous actor, this millionaire, whatever. So you see a lot of actors like that get kind of paranoid, and famous people, sports figures, get paranoid of people that you know, not involved in the acting business or the business they're in. Anyway, hold on one second. Alright, so back to Oswald and my point. So, you know, surely it must have occurred to Oswald that why is this rich guy hanging out with me? We have nothing in common except Russian and Minsk. Or maybe it didn't, who knows. But surely it would have occurred to the Mornshield. You know, if Oswald kept coming around to Mornshield and, hey, George this and George that, you know, it would have gotten old for George. He would have said, hey, Oswald, I'm busy today, I can't talk to you. But he always seemed to have time to help Oswald with his marital problems and listen to him about his book and all these other things. And the question you have to ask yourself is why? So I guess the question, not to be too paranoid, but if you have someone that you don't have, you know, not part of your family, you didn't go to high school with them, you didn't go to college with them, you have, you know, not involved in some kind of sports or career or whatever, or hobby, and they're hanging around you and they're coming around you, and there's no natural reason for them to be doing that, you have to ask yourself, why? Why are they doing that? And maybe Oswald asked that, maybe Oswald didn't. Anyway, we'll keep going.
As he had access to photographic equipment and on his new job. Look how beautiful they are. Look at this monument. Look at the Neva River.
Lee would say.
Oh, another thing, just real quick. When Oswald was arrested and his rooming house was searched and Mrs. Payne's garage and house was searched, there was on the list, and I got this from Garrison, and Garrison got this from the Dallas Police Department and the FBI, that there was over $3,000 worth of camera associated equipment that belonged to Oswald in his possession. And you think about that. So a guy making $1, we'll give him the $1.25, we'll give him the benefit of $1.50 an hour. Okay, in the whole, we'll say a year and a half. So $1.50 an hour times 40 hours. Okay, that's $60 a week times 52 times 1.5. So all the money that Oswald could have ever made at the most, not counting the times he was unemployed, but we'll just say he worked continuously, would be about $4,680. Okay? And he had over $3,000 of that would have been in a camera equipment. Now, did he buy some of this in the Soviet Union? Maybe. But that's quite a haul, and maybe they overpriced it. Let's just say it was $1,500 in camera equipment. Still, that's over a third of his income. And then on top of that, he paid over $600 back to the State Department and his brother. So that's putting near $2,000, over $2,000 right there. So for a year and a half, he has only $1,680 to live off, which is, you know, not a lot, but even back then, that would be very, very difficult to live off of. So where did Oswald get all this damn camera equipment? You have to ask. But I'm going to get into that another time.
Say, he was quite happy about that. And it was touching to us. And the pictures were done quite artistically, with a professional touch. While we were chatting with Lee, sitting on a moth-eaten sofa of his living room, Jean went to the kitchen to talk to Marina. There Marina cried and showed her a burn on her shoulder. Lee caught me smoking and put out the cigarette on my bare flesh, he cried out.
She cried out.
She cried out. My wife told her, "This is terrible." And she commented, if you live for 2 years in Europe, you don't have to acquire ugly characteristics of European men. Your life here does not give you any right to beat up your wife and to burn cigarettes on your shoulder.
Yep.
She criticized Lee. Anyway, this situation was becoming desperate, and we discussed it frankly with both of them. Our advice was to separate for a while at least. A cool-off period was necessary to both of them, we thought. I advised Lee to take it easy and lay off of brutalizing his wife. But he said, but she enjoys brutality, he said calmly. And look, I am all scratched up. His face did bear long red marks. Marina provoked me, he said. Doesn't matter who is responsible, I countered. Your temperaments obviously clash, so why don't you separate before you really hurt each other? You are stronger after all, Lee. She is a pretty good fighter too, he countered. In the meantime, Marina was crying on the shoulder of Jean, complaining of Lee's brutality, criticizing his coolness and hostility. She would say, he goes to bed with me so rarely now, she cried out, maybe once in a couple of weeks. He makes me so frustrated.
He makes you?
Makes me so frustrated, she bitterly complained. My wife was amused by this complaint, but naturally could not offer any better solution than advising Marina to put some perfume in the evening or wearing a sexy negligee. During these discussions, the baby June was laying there in a crib, rather fat and not able to say a word. I looked at June carefully one evening.
So basically, what they're saying is that Oswald, Marina was complaining that Oswald wasn't having sex with her, maybe once a month. Which, I don't know for sure, but it also harkens back to the homosexuality of Ruby and Ferry and Shaw and all, Walker, all these right-wing guys and all this homosexuality that was going around there. So, if Oswald was involved with this group and was infiltrating or part of this group, he would probably be participating in that. Okay? So, there was something going on there. I don't know exactly what it was, but it's just no coincidence that most of the major figures involved were either homosexual or bisexual. Ruby, Ferry, Oswald, Clay Shaw, and even Walker. Walker got caught, back in the 70s in a men's room propositioning a male undercover policeman. Anyway.
I noticed that she reminded me of someone. Look, I shouted, she looks exactly like Nikita Khrushchev. I did not mean it as an insult, I rather liked that old man. And so did the Oswalds. We all gathered around the crib and examined the baby. Same color of the skin, said my wife. Same sparse, fluffy hair, said Marina. And same round face, agreed Lee. Upon leaving our couple and having advised them to take it easy and to stop fighting, we drove home, laughing about my comparison of June to Khrushchev. It wasn't to offend the Oswalds, but the baby wasn't pretty then, fat and awkward, with small slanting blue eyes.
Now also think about this, that I've read the timeline, and Marina had written the Russian embassy in February of 1963 requesting information about returning to the Soviet Union. And then, so she had the baby in October, right before the assassination. So that would have meant, if you go 10 minus 9 is 1, she was pregnant at the time, but she wrote that letter. She probably didn't know she was pregnant, and then when she found out she was pregnant, that's when she decided to stay and not go back to the Soviet Union. anyway, that's just something to think about there.
Like Nikita's, and the same belligerent expression. Yes, the poor child was not pretty then, and we do hope she's growing up into a lovely child in her new home with a new stepfather. It makes us sad when we think of Lee and his genuine and tender love for his first child.
Excellent. That's very good. Now we have concluded.
I'm going to go over this later, but the children of Lee Oswald, can you imagine being the adults now? Because those children, let's see, would it be probably in their 60s, you know, older than, just a little bit older than me. I was born in 66, and one of them was born in, 61, and then another one was born in 63. So they would have been my brother and my sister's age. So about 4 or 5 years older than me. So they'd be in their late 50s, early 60s by now. So can you imagine being the daughter of the accused assassin of the President of the United States? I don't know about you, but I would be out there advocating for my dead father, trying to find out who actually committed the crimes. But there are other people out there that would have been ashamed or frightened and would have wanted to disassociate themselves from that person and would have wanted to have a life that didn't involve that, you know, I was the daughter of the assassin of the President of the United States. So they'd want to get away from that. You know, it's like that, they had a TV show about Gotti's daughter or something like that, and how she never could escape that she would always be that mobster's daughter, even though she wasn't involved in the mob. But anyway, so I just always thought about that and how, you know, things would have been different there. But anyway, all right, let's take a look here.
Included the chapter that should be inserted between D and F, or 4 and 6, chapters 4 and 6, and now we come to a chapter
L. Effects on our lives.
of the Oswald affair and the Warren report.
That's right.
You want to say something? No.
The publication of the short resume of the Warren Committee report had a lot of unpleasant effects on our lives in Haiti. Only the real friends understood the reasons of our involvement with the assassin, in quotation mark. In this way,
Alright, so I'm going to stop there, gone over my time, and we will pick this up and keep working on this tomorrow. Let me write down this time. Looks like I'm hitting about 10 minutes or so each time. So we're going to be doing this one for quite a while. But anyway, I'm having fun. I know this is boring stuff, but this is how you discover things. You know, it's not going to be some exciting TikTok video. You work through the process, and like I said, my mind's not made up on Oswald, who exactly he is. I'm not even sure Oswald knew who he was. But we're going to keep working on this. It's obvious that the Warren Commission was full of shit. Whether they were intentionally covering up for the assassins or they were just trying to keep it focused on Oswald, I'm not sure. But we will keep working through all the different angles. I know it's frustrating sometimes to hear someone talk about things from 5, 6 different points of view. But that's just the way you got to be if you're realistically going to look at things. I can't be like, you know, some of these people that get on, you know, I've been listening. I listen to all these different videos about the JFK assassinations. I've subscribed to almost all of them. I'm not going to name names, but... And it's frustrating to hear them, certain people talk and say, it's exactly this way. Oswald did it, and Oswald did it, or Oswald didn't do it, and they, you know, the Johnson did it, and, you know, just the mafia did it, or just the Cubans did it, and, you know, it's frustrating to hear people like that when you have all this other evidence. And, you know, the thing that, to me, that screams that Oswald didn't do it, even if there were, we didn't know about the fingerprints not being on the rifle, even if the paraffin test didn't exist, even if the paper bag didn't exist, is all the periphery things that were going on. Because when you read these documents that they're even releasing today, you see these groups involved in, you know, the No Name Key group, you know, Gary Patrick Hemming, all involved in trying to assassinate Castro, and then they're all doing these things that involve what eventually becomes the assassination of JFK. And you can't have these things all in a vacuum and then, oh, it's just this one guy. It's not no one else. Okay? So what you have is all these ingredients for a conspiracy to turn their guns on Kennedy, but then at the last moment it all stops and it's just Oswald. Even though all these people hated JFK, you know, H.L. Hunt, the anti-Castro Cubans, people fired by, you know, the Kennedys, Walker and Cabell and Dulles, all these people involved that had a reason to kill Kennedy and had the means to kill Kennedy and to cover it up, but then it's just this loner guy, Oswald. How people can just look at it and say, oh, it's just Oswald, and then there's all this background evidence and information showing that others were involved is beyond me. I don't understand how people can say that. Anyway, we're going to keep going and keep going through this. This may take years, but, you know, we're going to keep trucking through it, and who knows, next year this time I may have a different opinion. But like I said, I'm trying to keep my mind open and look at things from 5-6 different points of view, and just really go through the evidence. And that's the crazy thing about life. And it's not like a movie, you know, where the bad guy is defeated decisively by the good guy at the end of the movie, and they all gets the girl and rides off into the sunset, and it's all clean and cut, and you're happy, and you leave the theater, you know, with your arm around your girlfriend, and you go get something to eat, and you go home, and that's it. And it's all clean and cut. That's the American way, right? This is, it's black and white, it's clean, it's cut, it's finished, it's done, mission accomplished, all this kind of crap. When the reality is, it's much more messier. Okay? Yeah, we defeated the Taliban. Yeah, we defeated, you know, the Ba'ath Party, and we defeated Saddam Hussein, but did we win those wars? No, it kept trugging on and morphed and changed into different things, and that's the way reality is that you never really 100% have, you know, a complete answer of what happened. You have kind of ideas. It looks like it's leaning more this way, 75% this way, 25% that way, but there's never anything clear, clean, and cut. You know, the O.J. Simpson trial. Yeah, the cops screwed up a lot, but there's a hell of a lot of evidence that O.J. did it too. But eventually, they came to the conclusion that there was enough doubt to let him go. But then you get to the civil trial, and they convict him. So that's the gray area that we live in reality. A lot of people don't like that. That a lot of people are uncomfortable with that. A lot of people don't like to live there. It's either black or white, yes or no, right or wrong. You're either for us or against us, and that's just not the way the world really, really works. Especially when you get outside of America. It's much, much, much more gray. The older I get, the more, I mean, when I was 19, I knew everything. This is right and that is wrong. And this is black and that is white. But the older I get, I mean, I'm pretty established on what's right and wrong. But there's a lot of fucking gray. Just lots of gray. Okay? You know, and one more thing, like Kennedy. Kennedy wasn't perfect. He wasn't this, you know, Messiah, perfect Messiah that came down from heaven and was killed by these sinisterly evil, satanic people, who were spawns of Satan. It wasn't like that at all. It was men who were cold warriors who believed in America and believed Kennedy was weak against the Soviet Union, endangered America, and in their sense, even killing him was justified. And Kennedy wasn't this perfect messiah. He made mistakes. He had all these affairs with all these women, he used Jackie. He made mistakes too. So it's more of a gray basket on everything. And then the bad thing is we have to live in that world of uncertainty, of not knowing for sure, absolutely 100% about everything. And we'll never, ever, ever, ever know 100% everything. You go to your grave and you'll never know exactly what happened. Okay? And I'm certain years from now, 10 years from now, 100 years, not 100, 20, 30 years from now, when I'm dead and gone, people will be listening to these tapes and they'll never know exactly what happened. But I'm going to try to get as close, and we're going to go over everything as much as possible. Not everything, of course, but as much as we can in the time I have, and get a better understanding of what happened. And get a better understanding, and because once you make up your mind and decide this is the way it is, then you start looking for evidence to prove that. And then you've lost already. Because you'll turn a blind eye to things that are real. Oh, well, this can't exist because this doesn't fit my ideal of what happened. So that's why, like I said, it's frustrating for Americans that I'm looking at it from 5, 10 different points of view. Because you have to. Because, like I said, we all live in a gray area, and it's not perfect, but it's the way things are. Anyway, enough of my rambling. I've gone way over my time. Alright, take care. Bye.